Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. The hours are dwindling away, folks. Christmas Day is, 6 days away, like 5.5 days today, as we're late into the evening on Tuesday. Michigan is back on the practice field. The players are talking to the media. They are laser focused on Alabama. So I actually think, I said Christmas Day, which is Monday. I'm kind of leaning, guys, Friday night, maybe Saturday at the absolute worst. If it doesn't happen, my guess on Jim Harbaugh coming back to Michigan, my percentage goes from like 60, 70, 80% down to like 20% if things don't happen by midday Saturday at the absolute latest. But let's talk about some things on a more positive note. Let's not focus on Jim Harbaugh not being at Michigan. Let's focus on winning this national championship, him being at Michigan, Christmas coming up in 6 days. What Michigan gear did you ask Santa for? Let me know in the comments. Jack, I'm bringing you in, young Harbaugh. What did you ask Santa for related to Michigan gear this holiday season?
So I didn't ask Santa for any Michigan gear, but I did ask Santa, for a Jim Harbaugh extension.
Oh, look at that. That's why he's the best in the game. Young Harbaugh, Jack Latteray, not asking Santa for any gifts from Michigan gear. He is asking Santa, maybe the better Santa if he gets this deal done, for a Jim Harbaugh contract extension for Christmas morning. It'd be a hell of a thing to wake up to next Monday on Christmas Day. So let's get into the latest on Jim Harbaugh. I've got a source, right? I'm like I'm a rap magazine in the 90s, Jack. I'm the source. I'm not the source. I've got the source at least. That an NFL team has made contact with Jim Harbaugh, back channel communication. Harbaugh knows of the contact and what's being offered, that they have a contract waiting to sign the day Michigan season ends. I'm going to talk about those details. So we'll tell you which team that is here in a couple of moments. But I'm going to start off with today's news from this morning. Jim Harbaugh met with Michigan's Board of Regents, President Santa Ono, and others this morning in Ann Arbor, with all sides leaving the meeting, expecting Jim Harbaugh to remain Michigan's head coach, right? The one thing that I've got conflicting information on, which maybe is the reason that this damn contract hasn't happened yet, is whether or not Ward Manuel, Michigan's athletic director, was in that meeting. I mean, he was part of the glad-handing, handshaking, and love fest that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh had this morning in Ann Arbor, right? Michigan Regent Jordan Acker, who's been oddly active on Twitter, right? He's the youngest regent for Michigan. I think he's like 41, 42 years old. Kind of talks some smack on Twitter here and there to people. It's kind of a little bit awkward, but nevertheless, he has been one of the people that has been really leading the charge to Jim Harbaugh to remain as Michigan's coach. Tweeted this morning: "Go Blue, those who stay." Right, and the rest of that line is the Michigan line from Bo Schembechler: "Those who stay will be champions." Right, and I just don't think he would tweet something like this out, at 7:06 a.m. or so, as he's in the middle or getting ready to go to this Jim Harbaugh meeting, unless he felt comfortable that those who stay will be champions related to Michigan's current and hopefully future continuing head coach Jim Harbaugh. Now, Michigan had their annual banquet on Sunday, with J.J. McCarthy named the team MVP. Ironically, Blake Corum named offensive MVP. It seems like a situation where they just try and give out as many awards as possible, so that's fine. The one notable thing that people are talking about, which I've been stewing on since Sunday, what it means, is Jim Harbaugh talking to the senior class, right? And this is in this COVID extra year of eligibility era plus a red shirt. This can kind of really mean 2 or 3 different groups of classes, right? The 4th-year guys, the 5th-year guys, sometimes even the 6th-year guys, right? And so to the players with eligibility remaining in 2024, which is a plenty, he said, what's the quote there, right? "I just want to say, I hope some of you, with eligibility, of course, are coming back next year." So did he tease his return, right? Did Jim Harbaugh say that? "I hope you come back next year because I'm coming back next year." I don't know, Jack. It seems like something weird to say if you yourself weren't coming back, don't you think?
Absolutely. I don't think he would give any sort of tease or anything that could be up to interpretation if he wasn't already solid that he was probably going to be back next year.
And it makes a lot of sense to me. And the reason I have this opinion here that we're put on screen is that I feel this way is if he leaves after this season, all the support that he's got from Michigan fans, Michigan boosters, the president of the university, Santa Ono, everybody involved in Michigan, right? Former players, Charles Woodson, Tom Brady, et cetera, et cetera. If he leaves, I think he's going to leave some burned bridges behind, right? In another world where things were different and he left, maybe he's celebrated forever, and I just don't know how that situation really shakes out. You can never really leave a place sometimes on good terms, just how it kind of works, right? Any coach who leaves a program, whether it's go to the NFL, go somewhere else, 99 times out of 100, it seems like somebody or a big group of people that left behind end up getting mad. So if Harbaugh took all this love from everybody, he said in a press conference a month and a half ago or so that he's wanting to get an extension done, et cetera, said the last two January, Februarys that he was done with the NFL. He's not going to do that again. It was a one-time thing. It was a two-time thing to look at the NFL. Now he's focused on winning the national title. I just feel like all that coming up and then saying to the seniors, I hope some of you come back next year to play for somebody else, that would just leave some burned bridges behind. I don't think it would leave a good taste in really any Michigan fans' mouth. So I ask you guys this question. Will you feel jilted, right? Would it be like a gut blow, etc., if Jim Harbaugh went to the NFL after everything that's going on with Connor Stallions, the recruiting suspension at the beginning of the year, 3 games, Connor Stallions the entire middle part of the season, Jim Harbaugh suspended the last 3 weeks of the season, all culminating in a third straight Big Ten championship? Give me a yes or a no. I guess it depends on win the national championship. If they win the Natty, hey, Jim, we wish you well. Hey, man, you did it for us. Love you, man. Go do your thing in the NFL. Anything short of that, though, and all this different stuff I just talked about, I would feel a little jilted. Now, let's get into the NFL stuff. All right? NFL job waiting. I've been sitting on this since Friday, right? Got this scoop on Thursday night, followed up on Friday. But we had a holiday Christmas party, Jack. How did you have your fun at the Christmas party on Friday?
A blast.
All-day affair. Took a party bus downtown Fort Worth, went to the stockyards, went to a bullfighting contest, had dinner, went out to a bar at an after-party to bar afterwards. So haven't really found the right time. Yesterday we talked more Damani Edwards, et cetera, is that the Las Vegas Raiders have narrowed their focus to Jim Harbaugh as their shoot for the stars, their home run Grand Slam candidate, and he's got a history there, right? He coached there for a couple of years. He was very close with Al Davis, has remained, in contact with Mark Davis, his son, the current owner. And Harbaugh was the quarterback's coach when they went to Super Bowl in 2002. They had an MVP quarterback that he was the coach of. The thing that's pretty interesting is the Raiders have reached out to Harbaugh's representative, let Jim Harbaugh know, which he does, but hasn't really, from what I've been told, given any indication whether that's of interest to him at all. So, right, just to say an NFL team offers somebody something doesn't mean they're going to take it, right? I remember, Jack, I don't know if you know this, like 7 years ago or something like that, one of the first stories that Chat Sports broke, was actually me, had a really good source in the agent world that said the Browns plan to offer Urban Meyer like a massive contract, right? And they did. And Urban Meyer said it. They agreed to it afterwards. But I was getting roasted by every Ohio State fan. He didn't take the job. No, I didn't say he was taking the job. I said they planned to offer it. I was vindicated a week later when Urban Meyer himself in a press conference said, yeah, they made contact. They said they want to make the offer. Big offer. Not interested. Okay, cool. So it doesn't mean Jim Harbaugh himself is interested in the Raiders job. But he's going to have a contract offer, which maybe he didn't actually have or didn't have the right one at the right time the last 2 years. Potentially the biggest part of this story is the information I've got here in the last 36 hours is that Tom Brady's agent, Don Yee, is not necessarily hired by Harbaugh yet, but is advising Harbaugh on any inbound inquiry from an NFL team. And if Jim Harbaugh were to take that job, he would then be Jim Harbaugh's agent if he were to go to the NFL. We are going to tell you who Don Yee is, why he's important in this thing, and who else he's gotten mega contracts for in the NFL in the past year or so. Let me tell you all about that in a moment. But before we do that, it's going to be Prize Picks time for you guys. I'm going to tell you all about Prize Picks, the easiest and fastest way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on stats to win up to 25 times your money. They've got college football bowl stats, bowl picks in there now, and I went big on Michigan and Alabama. Let's take a look at who I am picking for the Rose Bowl. First up, I got J.J. McCarthy, right? I think J.J. McCarthy is going to get it done on the ground. Also, Jalen Milroe, I think he's going to get it done on the ground. So I'm picking more 16.5 rushing yards for McCarthy, more for 32.5 rushing yards for Jalen Milroe. Keep it rolling here. I made 5 prize picks on this game, or 5 picks on this entry, I should say. Colston Loveland, he is the threat that I think Alabama really has to worry about where Michigan can expose him. More than 36.5 receiving yards. Blake Corum, I'm going less, right? I'll tell you why in my preview coming up later next week. Less than 71.5 rushing yards. And then Alabama's top wide receiver, Jermaine Burton, I am going less than 53.5 receiving yards. So that's how easy it is. You just look, you type in Michigan, you type in J.J. McCarthy, you type in Alabama. You can mix and match sports, you can mix and match games. I put money on it. $25 down to my last 25. I took some of my winnings out, had 25 left in there. 10 times my money. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. What does that say, Jack? flex play, Jack. I still get some right? If I, what does that say there? I can't see on the screen. All right, 5 right, 10X,
5 right, 10x, 4 right, 2x,
yep.
and then 3 right, 0.4 times.
Nice. So I can still get some winnings if I get 4 or 3 of those right. It's super fun. So go make some picks for the bowl season. NFL football, so you got 3-4 weeks of the regular season, and then the playoffs. Hell, college basketball, you can play PrizePicks. It's you versus the numbers. You can mix and match sports, and you just pick more or less. You saw the flex play there, right? Get 4 right out of the 5, get 3 right out of the 5. I'm still taking home a little bit of cash. And if any of those guys gets hurt, not the Michigan guys, in the first half, don't come back for the second half. They're taken out of my PrizePicks, and the entry still lives on. It's really simple to play. I make my picks in 60 seconds or less, and you can get a $100 deposit match if you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that code CLNS. It supports the show, and it gets you your first deposit match of up to $100. The link for PrizePicks and that promo code is down in the description and the comments of today's video. Get going with PrizePicks. It's honestly been my favorite part of this football season, outside, obviously, of Michigan going 13-0, is making PrizePicks 3-4 times per week at all the football games that I can handle. Back to Don Yee, Tom Brady's agent, all right? Jimmy Garoppolo's agent, right? Where was Jimmy Garoppolo, Jack, a year ago, right? Where was he? What? Jimmy Garoppolo's? Oh, yeah. I mean, he's there right now. Correct. I was thinking, who was I thinking? I was thinking Derek Carr, actually. So Jimmy Garoppolo is still with the Raiders. I was going to say was with the Raiders. He's still with the Raiders, right? Who is one of the co-owners of the Raiders? It's one Tom Brady. We'll talk about that in a second. But the biggest thing on here, right? Don Yee represents Tom Brady, represents a quarterback on the Raiders currently, Jimmy Garoppolo, which I don't think he would stay with the Raiders just because that's even if Harbaugh is the coach. But also Sean Payton, right? He actually was representing Sean Payton when Jim Harbaugh was talking about the same job last year with the Broncos. $18 million deal over 5 years, $18 million. So math, that's $90 million with incentives up to $100 million deal. That is the guy that Jim Harbaugh has empowered to represent him on an informal basis in case an NFL job is where his future lies. And I think based on the Sean Payton deal, right? He was out of coaching for a year, et cetera, et cetera. He's coming back, a huge deal there. I would expect that he would go to a team like the Raiders or maybe even the Bears or somebody else. The Chargers just fired their coach and said, hey, 6 years, $100 million, 5 years, $100 million, 6 years, $110. I would think that if he's going to do his job and prove his worth to Jim Harbaugh, it's not going to be anything less than equivalent or better than the deal that Sean Payton got. Payton got 5 years, $90 million. Maybe Harbaugh goes another year, gets 10 more million, so a little bit less on a per year basis. But I bet that's what Don Yee will bring to Jim Harbaugh for Harbaugh to make a decision if this damn extension does not happen before Christmas Day. Now, I said this a couple minutes ago. Tom Brady, also a minority owner, a shareholder of the Raiders. I'm not sure how influential he is and who their next head coach is or on a day-to-day basis, but I think it's just a little interesting, right? Don Yee, Tom Brady, Michigan quarterback, Jim Harbaugh, Michigan quarterback, Raiders, right? Who was the ex-coach of the Raiders or the quarterback's coach 21 years ago? Jim Harbaugh. Who's involved with the Raiders right now? Tom Brady. Where did Jim Harbaugh meet his wife? In Las Vegas, where she used to work. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that and the Bears thing that we told you about last week, I think that if Harbaugh does not get this contract extension signed, I'm not sure what's holding it up at this point, the jobs that he would say yes to are going to be there with a contract offer for him. I think that makes it much more likely that he ends up leaving Michigan, again, if a contract does not happen. Let's talk about signing day. Coming up tomorrow, right? Signing day is what, like 5.5 hours away, right? Technically, I don't think you can send in your letters of intent until 7 a.m. local time tomorrow. This 2024 class, it's kind of lost a lot of momentum for Michigan, right? It was super hot back in March and April and May. Really nothing's happened since about midsummer, everything that's going on with Jim Harbaugh since then. I'll ask you this question before you give you some news and some rumors on signing day. Which are you paying attention to more these days, right? This is not kind of like year 3 of transfer portal palooza. December 2021 was pretty big. 22 was huge for Michigan, and now it's just become insane this year. Is it transfer portal or recruiting? Give me an R or a P down in the comments. And we'll be live tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, probably for about 90 minutes, 2 hours. If there's anything that happens between now and then or big news that drops tomorrow, we'll extend that bad boy on. We'll be doing a lot of fun stuff, some duck races, super chat stuff. The people probably get us drunk, Jack. I'm not sure. So join us tomorrow. Latest on Jim Harbaugh. We'll get some more scoop tonight, hopefully, on how things transpired over the last 24 hours with his extension. And then we'll go inside Michigan, Alabama, kind of have a 12, 11-day out preview of that matchup. So subscribe at youtube.com/Michigan TV. All right, let's take a look on the story. All the blog boys have put in their crystal ball. I'm not trying to be an insider in recruiting. My insight has always been on the team. So I'm not going to claim any inside sources, just give you my take on what's being reported out there. So Lugard, we said it, we got it earlier, Jack. It was Lugard Edekpaya is set to announce Wednesday. All signs are saying Michigan. Now, this is pretty interesting, right? A month and 12 days ago, on November 7th, he tweeted out this photo, or recruiting service tweeted out, he retweeted it, his top 5 schools. You got a little Texas A&M, a little Florida State, Maryland, Minnesota, Rutgers. So a little mix of lower Big Ten and then some big national recruiting powers there with Florida State and Texas A&M. But then November 8th, Michigan offers. So does that top 5 still hold any weight? Yeah, we'll see. We're not really sure with that. But since then, he's taken a trip to Michigan. He's done a midweek visit on campus, and ever since he came out of that midweek visit, he made another visit to Florida State. From what I read today, is that all signs are reporting that he is going to pick Michigan. He's a top 250 player. Some services have him as high as like 140 in the country. Big size, 6'6", 280. I mean, God, that reminds me of like a Mike Morris, maybe a David Ojabo, pound or two less. Got some good shots in there. I like the defensive ends that wear the single-digit numbers. They just look faster out there on the screen. So no announcement time for him yet. Hopefully it happens between 1 and like 4 o'clock Eastern so we can hold that press conference or whatever he has live here on YouTube. But if Michigan lands him, it's another 4-star. Might jump them up from number 16 class to where they are now, maybe up to 15, 14. One player really doesn't make that much of an impact on things. But he'll decide between Michigan, Maryland, Minnesota, and Rutgers. From what I can tell, it's coming down to a Michigan and Maryland battle, the hometown team and the big team that came in there at the end. Late bloomer. His recruiting rankings have really shot up over the past 6 or 7 months. So if Michigan can land him, kind of maybe reminds me of like a Derek Moore or something like that, right? This big guy from the East Coast that just kind of flips to Michigan or makes a decision in Michigan out of nowhere on signing day. The top classes in this recruiting cycle as of now, as we're coming up on National Signing Day, it's still Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama at the top 3. Florida State, Texas round out the top 5. Then you've got Miami, who's just throwing NIL money out around all over the place. Clearly, it's working in recruiting as well. Oklahoma, Oregon, Notre Dame, and Florida at number 10. That is the top 10 classes. We'll see if anything changes tomorrow when we are live at 1 o'clock Eastern. While you're here, though, make sure you guys follow me on Twitter. It's at James Yoder. I'll link that down in the comments and in the descriptions. We'll see you live tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, for young Harbaugh. For old Harbaugh, Jim, get that contract signed. I'm James Yoder. Till then, go blue.